Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon, and we're happy to be back after a 4-day weekend.
I'm Frank Isola. I think someone's taking a 5-day weekend. Not 4, 5.
Oops. You were called in out of the pen?
Yep.
Out of the pen, Frank Isola?
They went with the veteran right-hander. I was ready to go. But they have me on a pitch count, so they're only going to have me for a little bit.
Yeah, just don't, you can't get, need Tommy John before the show is over. Welcome to PTI. Tony apparently needs another day off, so I am joined happily today by our great friend, Mr. Frank Isola.
Could be
that was
better.
sort of a tepid Monday response. Let's start, Frank, with the Lakers now just one loss away from elimination. The Timberwolves narrowly beat the Lakers to take a 3-1 series lead, and Lakers coach J.J. Redick made no substitutions, none, in the entire second half, sticking with a 5 that worked really well in the third quarter. Frank, do you understand why Redick did it this way?
Yeah, I understand it because you don't want to go down 3-1 in the series. But when you get outscored 32-19 in the fourth, 19-9 in the last 5 minutes, the questions are going to come up. How come you didn't use somebody off your bench? My only thing, Mike, there'd be a couple of things. LeBron blocks a shot. Dante DiVincenzo, with 97 seconds to go, leads to the Dorian Finney-Smith 3, which puts him ahead. Minnesota calls timeout. At that point, are you saying the Lakers look gassed? Which is what Anthony Edwards had said. They look gassed. Next possession, he blocks Naz Reid. But here's where things turned, because LeBron settled for a 3. Maybe that was mental fatigue. He should have attacked the basket. Maybe they go ahead, and then that turnover that he had with 33 seconds to go after they had to call the timeout when it looked like Luka got tripped and to avoid the backcourt violation. So LeBron, I don't know, physically tired. I wouldn't say that. Mentally fatigued, because him settling for the 3 I thought was big, and obviously the turnover. For a guy of his experience, his stature in the league, his intelligence, you can't make that play.
Frank, I go back and forth a little bit on this because in real time watching that game yesterday, I understood that J.J. Redick was taking a calculated risk.
Yeah.
He had to gamble, and coaches have to do that. It's a flawed roster. They don't have the kind of depth, and they don't have exactly what they want after the trade, and we did not go into this postseason, or certainly the time after the trade, thinking, the Lakers have to win. They're going to win a championship this year. J.J. Redick has to make some concessions. And I understand this. And look, I bet you've heard this because you were around these guys, not as much as me, but quite a bit. Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan used to always say that during the postseason, when the timeouts are longer, they would convince their coaches, Pat Riley and Phil Jackson, no. I can rest on offense. Leave me in the game. We don't need to do this in the postseason. The Lakers get an extra day coming out of yesterday's game. They're going to be able to rest. Okay. So you play all those things in. And J.J. Redick's looking at this and thinking, okay, LeBron not only gave him a block shot, he gave him 2 steals.
Yeah.
LeBron was great defensively. I understand. By the way, on the other hand, Kendrick Perkins has sort of convinced me, wait a minute, because Perk says, hold on, look at LeBron's production first half where he's averaging nearly 17 points a game on 60% shooting, to second half where it's like 8 points a game on 36% shooting, and you go, oh, Perk's on to something there. And so that's what a gamble is. You have to give up something. You have to have some compromise. And Redick, ultimately, you can say he got burned, but I understand why he did it.
I mean, that's the thing. Jackson Hayes is struggling. You're going to put Gabe Vincent in. He was struggling. You're going with LeBron James. He's still making big defensive plays. Anthony Edwards played the entire second half. Julius Randle played all but 31 seconds in the second half. And I was wondering, watching the game, because, LeBron was 0 for 2 in the fourth. Let's remember that. Luka was 1 for 7. And I'm thinking, I wonder if Nico Harrison has a smile on his face. But the one thing the Lakers could learn, look what Nico did with that roster while Luka was still on the team. You add Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. They need athletic big men. And if they get knocked out in the first round, that's something they have to address, Mike. That's an issue, don't you think?
No doubt, Frank.
Yep.
No doubt about that. And again, we knew it was a flawed roster, and Redick's got to deal with that. And, the results are not always going to be positive, and now the Lakers on the brink of elimination.
Yeah, and let's also remember that, that big call at the end of the game when it looked like it was going to be Laker ball down 1. Instead, they called the foul on LeBron. And Anthony Edwards, who's terrific, goes to the free throw line. And, of course, He makes both. All right, let's move to the East. The Knicks went up 3-1 on the Pistons yesterday after the ref swallowed the whistle on Tim Hardaway Jr.'s game-winning shot attempt, a foul that veteran crew chief David Guthrie later acknowledged the officials should have called. Joining the Pistons down 3-1 are the Bucks, who lost Damian Lillard to a torn Achilles early in yesterday's loss to the Pacers. So, Mike, which is the bigger deal?
Well, losing Dame Lillard is a big deal because that's a year. That means Dame Lillard's not going to be able to play next year. Dame Lillard is such a wonder to watch in the playoffs, and he and Giannis were supposed to give Milwaukee the 1-2 punch that could get them back to the finals after injury-shortened playoffs, injury-interrupted, injury-ruined playoffs, and now it's ruined again by injury. And so that's like a category over here. Let's go back to the Pistons and Knicks because that is result-oriented. That one play causes havoc because that should be a 2-2 series because Tim Hardaway Jr., I know he doesn't shoot free throws as well in the postseason, slightly under 70 as well he does for his career in the regular season where he's over 80. He's going to hit 2 of those 3, and Detroit's going to win the game and even the series. That's just the way it's going to be despite Jalen Brunson's heroics. But you got to make the call. Here's the problem, though, Frank. Detroit has made a big deal. J.B. Bickerstaff, who I voted for Coach of the Year, they made a big deal out of swallow the whistle. Don't worry about the whistle. We're tough. We can play through it. Don't hide behind the whistle. Then be careful what you ask for because, that can cut both ways. I feel bad for him. The series should be 2-2, but there are a lot of calls that get let go. But here's the thing for me personally. I know I'm going back and forth now. On the jump shot, you got to call the foul. It's not a scrum on the floor. It's not a guy on the baseline stepping out. It's none of that. It's not an illegal pick with a guy sticking out his hip. On a jump shot, with the game on the line, you got to make that call. The league blew that. It made the admission. I don't know what else is going to be in the 2-minute review, but, man, the series should be 2-2.
All right, just under 9 minutes to go. Detroit's up by 11. Mikal Bridges, who was 1 for 10 after 3 quarters, hit that huge 3, which I thought that got the Knicks going.
Huge.
Karl Anthony Towns hit big shot after big shot, and Jalen Brunson, 15 points in the 4th. Everyone thought Cade Cunningham was going to be the best player in this series. It's been Jalen Brunson. So I thought the inexperience of Detroit, the kid Thompson is going to be a good player. He makes mistake after mistake, and Cade Cunningham turns the ball over way too much. And let's remember, he had a makeable shot that led to the rebound, which led to the Tim Hardaway play. My only thing about the play with Hardaway, it's in the corner. And it's a tough angle for most of the referees to see. I think Hardaway double clutching on pump, he's in the air and he double clutches. I think that throws the referees off a little bit. I get it.
Get a shot away.
But give the referees admit afterwards, but that's when they have a chance to look at it. You want to have a rule where in the last 10 seconds of a game, a big shot, a big turnover gets reviewed.
Maybe.
But what do you want the referees to do at that point? They miss calls all throughout the game. Everyone wants it to be physical.
If you're going to review the foul on the baseline in the other game, don't tell me that the rules can't cover it, Frank. I don't want to hear it because that's double talk. Yeah. And I know nobody in New York wants to deal with the fact that the Knicks got one. The Knicks always seem to get one. Michael Jordan, wouldn't be Michael, it'd be Scotty, might have an extra championship if it wasn't for the Knicks getting a favor from a referee whose name I won't even mention in Madison Square Garden in Game 5. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about the fix for the Knicks and you and Stephen A. Oh, they could have. You don't need to make the call. Yeah, you better make the call. We're not all here to
I don't have a problem with
the New York
call.
Knicks.
I think it was a tough call to make. It was hard to see.
Let's not
forget, too, Game 3, the clock malfunction ended up benefiting the Detroit Pistons. One quick thing about Lillard, you mentioned it. Who knows if we're ever going to see him and Giannis ever play together? They've only played 3 playoff games together, and they're 1-2 in those 3 games. Unbelievable.
It's sad.
Too bad.
It's sad. Nobody wants to see anybody who knows Dame Lillard and has watched him play over these dozen years or whatever it is. You don't want to see Dame Lillard not there.
Yep.
And now he's not there.
Yeah, classy guy and classy player. All right. And now to the NFL draft. 7 rounds over 3 days, and Shedeur Sanders somehow wasn't taken until the 5th. He ends up on the Browns 2 rounds after they selected Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Mike, is Sanders' fall your biggest takeaway from this year's draft?
Yeah, Frank, sadly it is. I mean, teams did this, they did that. We can grade them out. You don't really know what happens until at least a year in, sometimes 2 or 3 years in. But here's what we know now. Shedeur Sanders being on that board to the 5th round was a joke. It's a travesty. I'm not saying he got to go in the first, but don't tell me that everybody in the draft is better than Shedeur Sanders, because I watched the damn games. I watched the Colorado games. I don't need to just review film and take scouts' word for it, okay? And even if we take their word for it, they all had him ranked much, 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 much higher than this. Mel Kiper got this right when he said later, this is personal. This was not about football. It was personal. Because people looked at Shedeur Sanders for a lot of reasons. Different teams, and in different rounds, different teams looked at him differently. And they said, we find him undesirable. Yeah. We don't want him. It is personal. And you know what happens in the NFL? Where they use the word distraction is a 4-letter word, and every coach and every executive can utter distraction. They just don't have the guts ever in the NFL to come out and say that somebody's a distraction, and they didn't want the distraction that they think Shedeur Sanders and the entire Sanders family was going to become. They don't have the stones in the NFL to ever say that out loud, so they hide behind other garbage. It was personal, and it was awkward to watch.
Yeah, and I was fascinated to watch. You know, you're watching the playoff games on Friday, plus you're watching, or on Thursday, I should say, the NFL draft. It was amazing to watch everything that went down. But, you know, he didn't attend the Senior Bowl, the scouting combine. He was 1-7, where Colorado was against top 25 teams. Do I think that hurt him? Absolutely. But let's also face it, Mike, when it comes to quarterback, it's the most important position in sports, and teams get it wrong a lot of times, or else Tom Brady wouldn't be taken in the 6th round. Where'd Joe Montana go? The 3rd round. Jamarcus Russell, where did he go? Look where Zach Wilson went. So they get it wrong. And what's amazing about it, he goes to the team, which, let's face it, in the last 25 years, no one gets it wrong.
They get all they do is get it wrong.
They have 40 starting quarterbacks since 1999, and Sanders is the 2nd one that they took. I'll say this about him. I thought he handled things when he got selected. He still celebrated. Then he had that whole mess with the prank call. I thought he handled that really well. So in terms of his image,
I agree.
You play football, you're going to be brash because you're going to get killed at it. I think everyone in the NFL is somewhat brash because it's a really difficult sport to play. But I think he's going to get a chance out. Someone is going to be wrong, or maybe a lot of people are going to be wrong, and someone's going to be right. He's going to get a chance to prove it when on the field. But they have a lot of quarterbacks. They got Flacco on the team. They got, Kenny Pickett. You still have Deshaun Watson.
He'll have a chance, Frank, which
is
all you can ask. He'll have a chance. But just before we move on, let me just say, he didn't handle his pre-draft process as well as he should have, and he said that. But the NFL didn't handle this individually, not as a group. I'm not talking about a conspiracy, team by team. They didn't handle this as well as they could either, and they're never held accountable. Never. NFL teams, individually, they're never held accountable, and so now we're going to see.
And Boomer Esiason had reported on the radio today that that owners were telling their GMs, take them off our draft board. So there was a lot of stuff going on with Shedeur Sanders.
That's just what I'm saying. That's what they found him undesirable. It was personal. Yeah. But you think those guys will have the guts to publicly admit it, as wealthy as they are? No, because they're in large part frauds when it comes to that sort of personal accountability anyway. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Warriors came through without buckets. Jimmy Butler Saturday, but was the Nuggets buzzer-beating win an even bigger deal?
And Tom Wilson's hit last night have to help the Caps earn a win. Should Matthew Tkachuk's have earned him a suspension? Ooh. Man, that was nasty.
Time to get busy with the viewers. Frank, what's first?
Oh, this is exciting.
Mail time.
It's been a while since I got to open up the mail. All right, Mike, bigger deal from Saturday. The Warriors winning without Jimmy Butler or Aaron Gordon's buzzer-beating dunk?
Got to be Aaron Gordon's buzzer beater. Got to be. I mean, look, winning without Jimmy Butler was great. It's impressive. But they would have just been down 2-1 with a home game tonight. You see where I'm sitting. I'm going to be going over to the arena for the Dubs for Game 4, Dubs Houston. But it's the win over the Clippers. My goodness, the Clippers are the last team to lose a game like that. It was an inbounds pass in Phoenix, 4 years ago?
That's right.
This was a missed shot by Joker, but Aaron Gordon puts it in. Unbelievable. Otherwise, the Clippers would have control of that series, and now they don't. Dead even.
Yeah. How about for the Warriors, though? You look at what they've done since Jimmy Butler arrived. They're 26-9. That includes the play-in. That includes the playoffs. But to win a playoff game, I understand that it's at home, but it was like a throwback game for Steph Curry. He scores 36 points. And for Houston, I understand they're inexperienced, but they're the highest-seeded team. That was really their chance. As for the dunk, how did it get decided, Mike? An incredible replay when you break it down to the split second. Sure enough, Aaron Gordon's hands are not on the ball. We complain about replay a lot, but how about in this case?
They got it right.
It worked perfectly.
Got it right.
Right? And how about Jokic?
It did.
Yeah. Meanwhile, how about the performance by Jokic, though? The 36 points, 21 rebounds, and he had like a Derek Whittenberg type of air ball that leads to a game-winning dunk.
If you want to call that an assist.
Right?
You can try to sneak away with that one. We're still waiting to find out what Jimmy Butler's going to do. That might be game time in a little bit. So I'm running away from you after we get done with this show. What's next, Frank?
Yeah. The other email says your limousine's waiting for you. They've stocked it with everything that you need. So that was the other one. All right, would you rather focus on the hit delivered by Matthew Tkachuk or Tom Wilson? Two big-time hits from over the weekend.
Well, I was watching. First of all, the league doesn't want to do anything to anybody named Tkachuk. It's like the NBA saying pretty please to Ja Morant. They don't, those leagues don't want to deal with that. The Caps are down 2-1, 13 minutes left in the game, and Wilson's hit on a Montreal defenseman, Carrier, he's slow getting off the ice, real slow because he's woozy. The Caps, 15 seconds later, tie the game at 2. They go on bang, bang, bang with a couple of empty netters to win the game and take the commanding 3-1 lead in that series. And they're going to win that series now, Frank. That hit, I don't know. Wilson gets away with a lot of stuff. He really does.
He is big and nasty and tough as they come. If what happened with Tampa Bay and Florida, Tampa Bay, Brandon Hagel got suspended one game for a hit on Alexander Barkov. They were losing at the time 1-0. It's a dumb play, but it seemed to kind of come in the flow of the game. Matthew Tkachuk's hit on Jake Gensel, that's happening when they're down 4-1. The game is essentially over, and he's thinking, you know what? I'm going to take my chance here. I'm just going to lay somebody out. In theory, was the hit clean? Did he hit him in the head? No. But come on, context matters here, Mike. It's 4-1. If you're going to suspend their guy for the hit,
the
shouldn't
league's
Matthew
not
Tkachuk be suspended for 1 game?
To Tkachuk. He knows that by now. They're not. The league is not going to do that. He's untouchable. He is, at least for this whole postseason he is, and maybe beyond.
Yeah.
Thanks for your email. Let's take one last break, but still to come. The Commanders close in on a shiny new home.
And were the Penguins right to say, see ya, to a coach who had won 2 cups? See, Tkachuk and Jason Tatum are friends. Maybe it's that championship thing they got going. You're allowed to behave like that.
Tkachuk's is just sort of more, I'm entitled.
Tròn nhé. Mình sẽ móc sang cái màu sắc tiếp theo đúng không ạ?
And right now, when affordability matters most, Hyundai is committed to keeping our prices the same, with no increase to MSRP. And not just on a few of our vehicles, all of them. That's the Hyundai way.
My kids can't hide anything from me. I'm home. Especially when they've been using toilet paper that doesn't hold up.
All right, whatever.
Anh sẽ siết chặt phần đây màu vàng.
Okay. Let me cover this. So did y'all see this? So apparently there's this guy, some random guy. He walked up on DeMar DeRozan, and I think he was trying to troll him.
Hàng này mình sẽ
But
mất
he
một
ended up
bộ
getting
đơn.
attacked and body slammed or slapped by. He says this is his tweet. He
Mình
says
mất
I
một bộ
just got
đơn
attacked
vàng
and
qua.
body slapped by DeMar DeRozan.
Tiếp tục mắc vào nha mọi người. Chúng ta phiên từng mũi. Móc lại một chút kiểu như này. Móc tiếp này. Một nữa này. Cứ móc lần lượt từng mũi vào đó. Tiếp đi mọi người.
Days away, and even though nobody knows exactly where we'll see quarterbacks.
Bro, the level just started and we're already getting overrun. I gotta take these guys out and build this crossbow tower as fast as possible.
Shedeur Sanders next season. We do know he ain't hard to find. He also apparently hasn't.
FC Dunk It Bucket. Now anyone can dunk.
Tiếp tục mắc nữa.
With 3 sauces, fries, new mashed potato poppers, and original recipe tenders. Dunk for $7 or get enough to share for $25.